welcome back for the very first time to your new favorite Magic the Gathering Mono Black Draft Chaff themed podcast, Bogstompers. We're your hosts of the coast, and let's dive right into today's topic. Bobby, why don't you take us away?
Yeah, thank you so much for that intro, Joe. I am Bobby. I use they and he pronouns, and today we're talking about obscure Magic the Gathering cards. You've heard of those Magic the Gathering cards, the ones that see play in every deck. They're staples, your soul rings, your islands, what have you. We're not interested in those cards. Here at Bog Stompers, we're interested at, the obscure cards, the diamonds in the rough, and we're going to find some and show you some today on this, our inaugural episode. Ev, would you like to start us out here with some? What's your
I
first pick of obscure cards to talk about?
I would love to take us away. My name's Ev, or Evan, either one is okay. I use he, him pronouns. And I feel as if the three of us have a common sentiment that we're constantly finding new cards that were printed in New Capenna. So I'm going to start us off there with Brass Knuckles. I love this card. I think printing just Brass Knuckles is awesome. I think more specifically, it's a flavor win because Brass Knuckles is a 4 mana colorless artifact equipment. It reads, when you cast the spell, copy it. Equipped creature has double strike as long as two or more equipment are attached to it, and the equip cost is 1. I think this is awesome. I think it's funny that you could give two creatures the different sets of brass knuckles. They could both get double strike as long as they have another equipment. I think it's good in a lot of artifact decks, more specifically equipment decks, and I like it a lot. I think it's fun. I've not found a deck to place it in yet, but I would like to just because I like this card quite a bit.
There's a lot of potential I can see with this card. There's a lot of format all-stars for Commander. I mean, obviously we have Wyleth, who's sort of the archetypical equipment-based commander, given that he featured in a precon. We do also see equipment-themed strategies with things like Chishiro, additionally in cards like Arna Kinarud or Sir Gwyn. But really, because this artifact also copies itself, it could see play in a deck we've all seen played at all of our EDH tables, one that kind of has a bad reputation of being completely overpowered for a lot of metas, and that's Gimbal,
Yeah,
Gremlin Prodigy.
That's
The
true.
fact
This
that
would be good. Yeah.
this would be good in Gimbal because it makes a unique artifact token.
for folks at home, Gimbal is the only card not currently on the Commander ban list that we have banned. It I mean, I think you all know what Gimbal does. I don't need to read Gimbal off the top of my head. I think, but obviously, yeah,
No.
it's just Gimbal's busted, and the less said about Gimbal, the better. Yeah, I think I see this card and I want to populate those tokens. Oh, does populate not work with artifacts? It's only
Populates creature
creatures.
tokens.
Oh, that sucks.
See,
I know.
that's a shame.
I didn't know that.
Populating brass knuckles would be hilarious. There's got to be some way to copy
That'd be
it.
awesome.
I mean, is it actually as good as just getting any number of cards that just say all your creatures who are equipped, all equipped creatures have double strike? Like, I feel like some
No,
card
but is
does
it?
that.
But
Brunor,
is it more
no,
fun? Is it
maybe.
more fun, Bobby?
It
I think it's
it costs
cooler.
6 mana.
I mean, we were talking
5.
about how beautiful the thematic resonance of this card is, and how it really makes sense in this story that we tell each other every game. And finding a way to make these brass knuckles breed would be, I think, a beautiful new avenue of storycraft, like the populate mechanic represents. Too long have we let Jace and Vraska get down and dirty. Let's let these two slabs of metal, two slabs of Capennin metal, so you know they're a little freaky. Uh, let's have them do their business, you know?
New Capenna 2, this time the artifacts
Yeah, I hope
duplicate themselves. Cool. Hire us, wizards.
that's that's what they did with when they dropped a girder on Atraxa. They figured out how to make artifacts copy themselves.
Yeah,
All
probably.
I'm saying is the second
Yeah,
copy of Brass Knuckles these days, they know how to find Mirrodin's core. Okay, I think we've spent enough time on this piece of, let's call it draft chaff to be generous. Bobby, I actually think that you have a particular card you'd like to showcase.
Yeah, speaking of people who can absolutely get it, let's talk about High Priest of Penance. You know him, you love him. He's from the first set I ever played, which is Gate Crash. I remember opening this guy, and when you're rare, picture this: you're in fifth grade, you're opening packs, you're like, oh man, I'm so excited for my rare. It's gonna be, a big dragon or a guild leader or something, and you just see a guy, and he's sitting in a chair. The chair is plush. He's a big plush, kind of a dome around his head, and it just says High Priest of Penance. It's cost Orzhov. Great, perfect mana cost. 1/1 human cleric. Whenever High Priest of Penance is dealt damage, you may destroy target non-land permanent. All I require is faith, loyalty, obedience, trust, and complete and utter devotion. This card is terrific. It does everything that you want a Magic card to do. It doesn't inherently synergize with anything Orzhov in that set at all. This doesn't say extort. This doesn't say when you gain life. This kind of says nothing. But it's just, oh, it's so Orzhov-y. It's so bizarre. You block with this thing for days, and no one's going to attack you. It's terrific. It's like better Death Touch on this rare 2-mana 1/1 human. I love this guy and his energy. Mark Zug's taking it home with this art. But what are your opinions? Have you guys seen the High Priest of Penance in your games?
I've not seen it in my games.
That's fucked up.
I do have a quick question for you,
Yeah.
though. And I think this is something that we can field to the entire table. You guys notice the sloppy little critter to the guy's left?
The
I was
thrall.
looking at that guy.
My imagination is like, you kill this guy because like any amount of damage is gonna kill this guy, right? He's a 1/1, and then that
Oh, yeah.
thrall just comes at you. It just
Yeah,
rips
like
apart whatever you hold dearest. It's
it's like face hugger style and just peels your skull off.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I get my way, this will not be the only thrall card we're talking about today. I didn't try and do this, but I had thralls on the mind apparently because I have one more card that references thralls, so you can
Sorry,
guess what that card is to yourselves.
If you'll let me take the floor one more time, I do also want to mention this Thrall's mask looks like a Bionicle.
I was
Oh.
also thinking Bionicle.
What?
It looks like he's smiling because of how his little eyes are.
Sure.
Mm.
What
You know,
Bionicle is it?
he looks happy.
Let's be clear. This is a Magic the Gathering mono black draft chaff themed format, not a format podcast.
We're getting there.
We're getting a little
there.
ahead of ourselves, even though we do have that in our back pocket.
We're getting there. We're working on it. We're brainstorming.
Not a Bionicle lore podcast. If we had one, we'd plug it right now
Yeah.
because boy howdy could me and Bobby especially get into it. But Ev, I've stolen enough
Yeah.
of your air because I've been so preoccupied with this sloppy little critter. What are your thoughts on some of the other elements of this card? Everything to do with the entire rest of the image. We could even just go back to the art.
I was thinking of the art. I was gonna say, Bobby, you should start dressing like this.
Yeah.
I think the headpiece would do wonders for you. Especially when it's cold out. He looks real cozy. As a card, I think pretty good. It's been reprinted. I mean, they reprint bad cards sometimes, but I don't think this is bad by any means. I don't know if I would ever play it. But if I saw it hit a table, I would not be offended. But my bar for bad cards is pretty low.
That's the thing is,
So
like where do you put this? It is no.
I don't know.
I guess you put it in your like. Okay, you have like you give this thing indestructible, and then you put it in your like Brash Taunter style deck. So you just deal damage to it over and over again and just destroy everyone's boards. Because it's not just destroy the thing that dealt damage to it. It's destroy target non-land permanent. You can break
Yeah.
this
I
card.
mean,
I guess
There's a way to do it.
you could also just reanimate it, like in any low to the ground, like low mana cost reanimator. It's not a bad target for reanimation for defense,
Reanimator.
I don't think. What?
3 animator. It's a
Oh,
archetype
sure.
in Canadian Highlander currently.
Ah,
Um,
cool.
the idea of you play all these recent cards that have come out for
Yeah.
white, where you reanimate small creatures slash artifacts. In the case of some Brothers War versions,
Hmm.
basically every set these days now has a card that brings a 3 mana cost or less permanent from the graveyard to the battlefield in mono white, and this would slot into that archetype really well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's a great blocker. I think it works. It works there really well.
we
Yeah.
finally broke Lutri, gang. We did it.
I
And
think you mean Luris.
I
Loris,
also think you mean Laris,
yeah,
but
you know, we can break Lutri another time. But Joe, clearly I've talked for too long, and I'm starting to ideate a Bionicle Secret Lair in my head. Do you have a card you want to share, or do you have one more word on
I
High
do,
Priest of
I do have
Penance?
some parting thoughts on High Piece of Penance. Additionally, I think this could see play in like a Ryle style deck for the Enrage mechanic that Dinosaurs played into. It's in their own color identity, but if you wanted to play a deck that featured black, that cared about hitting your own permanents, we obviously talked about Brash Counter combo, and there are ways to abuse this and that. But honestly, even just a 2 mana destroy target non-land permanent for Orzhov, fair, respectable, fine. Plus, it has the additional synergies of being a creature, so it comes down, it triggers any kind of creature entering effects. This is a playable card. We've seen it played. Additionally, what I suspect it was reprinted in the Party Time deck. It's a cleric.
Yeah.
And cleric and human, two very relevant creature types. Human in black is a little weird. Usually you would see that in something more like either a Jeskai or a Naya shell. But you know, Mardu Humans was an archetype for Ikoria and revisits to the plane and things like March of the Machine. I think this is a card that's honestly too good for this podcast. And I hope to be greeted with some garbage like, and just to introduce myself, because I'm going to be bearing my soul with this pick.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Joe. Yeah, Joe, Joseph, Joey. If you're not my friend or lover, it doesn't quite matter which. I use he, him pronouns, and my favorite cards in Magic the Gathering are some dog shit that you have. I want to perfectly guarantee you've never seen. And starting this off is a card that I think is going to rattle my co-hosts to the bone. That is Bone Shaman.
Oh
Bone
boy.
Shaman, released in 1995 as a part of Ice Age, is a 3/3 giant shaman, otherwise known as a summon giant, as is printed on the card, for 2 and 2 red, with the activated ability of 1 black mana, any creature damaged by Bone Shaman this turn cannot regenerate until end of turn. Rattle me bones as I cross the floor, and rattle the bones in your grave will rattle no more. And the bones in your grave will rattle no more. My sincerest apologies to the flavor text author. There's a fun factoid about this card. There's a few, in fact, many of which we're going to go down the list of. But I just want to field the floor. What do you guys think makes this card particularly special?
to you?
In general, there is a fact about this card that actually makes it significant in the history of Magic, and perhaps a format near to our hearts.
Oh, that must mean Commander, because that's the only format we play other than Limited. And I don't think, Joe's gonna be talking about what set is this from? What's
This is
the
from Ice Age,
Ice Age? Yeah,
released in 1995.
I don't think Joe's talking about Ice Age Unlimited here. So it's gotta be. I mean, what? I have
I'm at a
absolutely
loss
no clue.
personally for
You're drawing blanks?
Okay, maybe it's
you're too.
no.
I want to guess because you're too pleased about us drawing blanks, and I want to at least offer something. Um, here's what I'll offer. It looks like this Bone Shaman's about to start bowling with that skull, and that delights me. And I'll leave it at that personally. He's about to roll a tight strike.
So your guess for what makes this card important to Commander history is that in the artwork it looks like it's about to bowl a skull and score a strike.
That's the first bowling
yeah.
kindred card in Magic the
yeah,
Gathering.
yeah. In your bowling deck, that's where Brass Knuckles can go double strike.
That was
I
Getting-
awful.
They're getting
hate that.
somewhere. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Tell us about Bone Shaman, Joey.
Friends, Mercadians, countrymen, you are looking at the Magic the Gathering card included in the least decks of EDH Rec. For much of its history, it was in 0 decks. It peaked at a height of 3.
That does not surprise me. This card is bad.
Yeah, its only effect is shutting off regenerate. Notably, doesn't destroy the creature, just makes it unable to regenerate if it happens to be destroyed. Now, this card is actually genuinely one of my favorite cards of all time. And to pull the audience aside here, my mother is a very sweet and saintly woman. She hasn't always understood everything about the subjects that I'm fascinated by, from World of Warcraft to Magic the Gathering to Dungeons and Dragons. But she's done her best to support me. And every Christmas or other major holiday, she gets me a stack of Magic cards, usually commons, uncommons, just bulk cards that have something to do with the season. For example, I own, I think, the most copies of Kiss of the Amesha of any person because of my Valentine's Day treats. And one year, my mom seemingly just went through every card in Ice Age and bought me most of the commons and uncommons for Christmas. Bone Shaman was on the list, and because he's a naked, pale, hunched-over man, and my mom, alongside being saintly, is, how shall we call it, rather self-amused with things of this sort of lewd subject matter, painted me a picture of Bone Shaman. So I have in my possession a small canvas painting of the card Bone Shaman, the least played card on any EDH deck of all time. Also, additionally, I am the owner of this card. And not only that, because it was a gift to me, it's in a special part of my collection, meaning that it's just not even in my bulk box.
It's gotta
I
be.
think
I mean, you gotta put it in a deck somehow.
you do.
I really
You
ought
do.
to.
Also, you need to get custom sleeves with the painting that your mom made on it, because that would be beautiful. Imagine you pull up to your LGS or Display Commander with us, and you have custom mom painted Bone Shaman sleeves. I think you win. That's or playmat, Bone Shaman custom playmat from your mom. Gorgeous. Uh, that was a lovely story. We both love your mom.
Oh yeah.
You know this. Your mom knows this. She's a delight and a wonderful human being. That's a great reason to love Bone Shaman, despite its playability.
I think you put this in the command zone. I think you make
I'd
a
let,
deck that's
I'd let
all
you.
like cards that are like destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated, and like that's the theme. And you just like roll up, and you're like, you guys, you guys can't regenerate your creatures. What are you gonna do now? And that's the whole bit for like the next 2 hours of your life.
Bobby, I like that your suggestion for making this card playable is to break the rules.
Yeah,
I was gonna actually field the question of, okay, what deck does this go in? Because also notably, keep in mind, the card doesn't even say play a black mana.
yeah.
The next time target creature is destroyed, it can't regenerate. Bone Shaman has to damage it. The amount of hoops you have to jump through to make this effect happen are insane. You have to pay 4 mana for a 3/3, have it attack and destroy a creature that would have regenerated.
There's got to be like something that like you can like an
Oh my
impact
God.
from a style effect. What's the big Warstorm Surge or something, like you play this and
Warstorm
like deal
Surge, yeah.
damage to
Here.
the thing. What do you
I
got,
have
Joe?
actually the combo.
Yeah.
Thornbite Staff, because it is a
I
shaman.
was about to say Thornbite Staff. Yeah. And then that's you give it. Does Thornbite Staff give Death Touch?
No.
Okay,
We'd have to add a third card to this combo.
Then give it. Then give it like okay. Or you just give it like Basilisk Collar and give it Death Touch. Right, and then we're good.
Yeah.
Then
And
you're
then we're
good.
great. Yeah, we could pull off this combo that can be done with any creature in the game. And
Let's see,
somehow this makes Bone Shaman playable.
It's 8 mana. Okay, how much? It's 8 mana for Thornbite Staff. Uh, Basilisk Collar is 3 more mana, so we're up to 11. And
No.
then
It's
what?
not 8 mana. It's 4 mana for Thornbite Staff because it's a shaman.
Well, you have to equip it for 4. Oh, you have it in play
No, because
already, and then
yeah,
I
you
was
play
sorry.
this first, then
I was
the
misunderstanding
bone
you.
shaman.
Oh yeah, because you play Thornbite Staff on turn 2, and then you bring your Bone Shaman from the command zone
On,
on turn 4.
oh, sure. Or yeah, you could. Yeah, I understand the combo now, but still, you have to equip Basilisk Collar. So that's another 3 mana.
So that's 3 mana plus 4 from the Bone Shaman. So we're looking at 11 mana. But then we also have to pay the 1 black to prevent it from regenerating. So this is a 12 mana combo that destroys a creature.
We did it. But
In
then,
We did it!
Rakdos.
yeah,
Guys, we broke Bone Shaman
that's what we're
with
here to
two
We
other
do.
did it, Reddit.
with 2 other highly playable cards.
I
All
hate
right,
to.
let's get out of the out of the realm of Dominaria's northern pole,
Back
home of
to
the
me.
Pale Bears and Lovisa Cold Eyes. Ev, what's your
All
second
right.
card?
My second pick is a creature type that I like, and I've always wanted to make playable, but I don't think it's possible. I have Stitcher's Apprentice. It is a for 1 to blue, you get creature homunculus, and you can pay 1 to blue and tap it, and you create a 2/2 blue homunculus creature token, and then sacrifice a creature. Oglor create life. Oglor take it away. Oglor God until master return. I like this guy. Don't know if it's playable. I like that it's a sack outlet in mono blue. I think that's kind of funny and interesting. And I like the homunculus is trying to make other homunculus just for a little bit. And he's not quite a Stitcher yet, but Oglor is certainly getting there.
Don't know if I would call this a sack outlet. I think that's a little charitable.
I enjoy being charitable to bad cards. That's why I'm part of this podcast with you guys.
It has an exclusive homunculus token, and it's so beautiful. It's so perfect.
I love this boy.
It's really good. The token, yeah.
Wow.
This guy looks like a Minions.
Yeah, it's like a minion.
This dude looks like a Minions Rise of Gru.
Wait, this was.
We
Where was this originally? Yeah, it's just for this card. Wow. In its original
print a new
Innistrad,
card.
it was a good time.
they need to print a new card that makes homunculus tokens.
I mean, there's the new one, the one that is just like copies itself. The homunculus one.
Oh,
Yeah, from Foundations. I don't know anything about that card other than it makes copies of itself, but I think it's
It's
when
when you draw your
a
second card
Yeah,
each turn.
yeah.
Yeah.
which is obviously not as good as this card because that card does not let
It's
you
not as good as this
sacrifice anything. This you can set up.
And that's the important part.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you don't even
Alright.
you don't have to pay mana for that one. So
yeah.
It's
hold on.
worse.
Let me think. So it's better than yeah. Okay.
No, but also you don't have to tap that one. So it's
I
so
I do
anyways,
like this.
how do we break
in
this
the,
card?
No, I do like this in the world of you don't have any other creatures, and you have a 1/2 for 2 mana that you can pay 2 more mana to upgrade into a 2/2. Like that's and you get enters a dice
Actually-
trigger. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is actually interesting because what you can do is this goes infinite with Intruder Alarm. If you also have infinite mana.
Okay, so there's an infinite prerequisite to this going infinite.
And
Yeah, and then you have 2 infinites, and then you have some kind of third ability, some
Yeah, 'cause-
some kind of thing that cares about creatures entering the battlefield, like in Mono Blue.
yeah,
Yeah, like in
exactly.
mono blue. How mono blue does.
Or
Yeah.
or we can add black into the combo, and there's
No.
tons of dies triggers there. However, there's also sacrifice outlets, so that's where this kind of
but
falls
this is
apart.
a pretty good.
Yeah,
This is a pretty good one, though, all things considered. It's not. I like this guy, and I like the token, and I want to look at it with you, my friends.
I do like when they give characters like non-legendary characters names in the flavor text. Like
Yes, that's also why I included this for Oglor.
Oglor is in this.
Ogler
There's
Ogler,
Garl who
was actually did get a card. Ogler
Oh,
got a card
really?
in Alchemy. Yeah.
I don't count alchemy as real
Alchemy's,
magic.
yeah. Oh, gosh.
Sorry. That's a different episode.
That's wild that Ogler got a card. Yeah, I was thinking about
Og-
Jarl, who's also from Innistrad, original Innistrad block, the deranged assistant.
Oh, Oglor did. Whoa.
What's it
I
do?
do also want to mention this card has some pretty sick high level tech that people aren't considering. For 2 mana, you get a 1/2 on turn 2. Next turn, you pay 2 more mana, and you can just sacrifice Oglor, the Stitcher's Apprentice, to upgrade him from a 1/2 to a 2/2. And that'll win you a game of Limited.
Did you say that already, or did Bobby say that before? One of you said that already.
You can sacrifice the original Stitcher's Apprentice
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
the 2/2.
Bobby said that like 2 minutes ago.
So I was looking at this Minion Rise of Gru ass homunculus token with a fondness for its big wet eye and weird staff and creepy little Jawa body.
You want to hear a fucked
I
up
will
thing?
figure out. I will figure out how to make Homunculus playable in Commander. I'll do it in a way that's fun and not just blue control.
You
What's
want
up,
to hear
Bobby?
something really fucked up about the Oglor card in Alchemy? So this card, it's Oglor Devoted Assistant, 2 mana, legendary creature homunculus, 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. The next part's the fucked up part. Whenever a creature card is put into your graveyard from your library or hand, it perpetually gains. When this card leaves your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. The fucked up part there is that it could have made the homunculus token. It would have been
Okay.
perfect, but instead it makes zombies for no
consider-
reason.
I would have been so. I'm already angry at Alchemy. We're all angry at Alchemy. I would have been so upset if Oglor did make Homunculus and I couldn't play it in my command zone or just in any form of Magic that's in paper. It's like how
Average
Joe feels.
EDH player brain.
It's like how Joe feels about the pigs. I would. I know. But
For the viewers at home, I just shook my fist angrily at the notion that there are fucking 6 pig cards in Alchemy that all synergize with each other, and me, Truffle Snout Enjoyer, can't play with them in paper. I would top a modern Pro Tour with pigs. That's how godly of a gamer I am when behind swine.
that's it for me on Homunculus. Bob, you got something for us next?
Yeah, I have another giant. I'm all up in those creature types today. Continue off of our shaman. This is perhaps not as exciting here, but let's talk to you guys about Boonweaver Giant. Boonweaver Giant is from Magic
Hell yeah.
2015, a 7 mana 4/4 white giant monk. Whenever Boonweaver Giant enters, you may search your graveyard, hand, and or library for an aura card and put it onto the battlefield attached to Boonweaver Giant. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. Let me tell you a story about Magic 2015. I was playing in a two-headed two-headed giant pre-release, sealed, whatever, the whole 9 yards, and Boonweaver Giant was the bomb. You would just throw this down. It would, worst case scenario, it like tutors your what is it, +1/+3, gain 3 life when it enters. Like just stupid common enchantment, any number of things, and that's just in like limited. Limited, this is a bomb. In Commander, you put this in like a Selesnya deck. You get Colossification on this thing. It's like a 6 mana 24/24 that enters tapped. That's a combo right there. It searches your library. It searches your graveyard. You can just put it right down from your hand. This is like sneak attack but permanent. This is good. This is a good card, and not enough of you are playing it. So it costs 7 mana. Who cares? Yeah, Joe?
I
Yeah,
especially
that's what it
appreciate
does.
that it lets you search your hand, because not enough cards in this game actually let you look at the cards in your hand and go through them. So this is a cool piece of tech.
I never look at the cards in my hand.
Amen. I'll drink to that.
I
Yeah. What if
enjoy
okay,
that water.
Okay, so someone mind slavers you. Instant speed, you blink Boonweaver Giant, so you get to look at your hand. It's pretty good.
Pretty powerful effect. The
That's so stupid.
I do also like the
It's-
rules text on this card in that, I mean, keep in mind, me, Ice Age enjoyer, right? Like, I'm a big fan of Graveyard Order Matters cards, just naturally. Ashen Ghoul has made its way into so many deck lists that I've made over the years. So the fact that Boonweaver Giant here doesn't let you shuffle your graveyard, unlike, certain cards from Lorwyn block that were how shall we call it, respectful to the ancient rights of graveyard order matters. Kind of dark, sick, nasty, twisted, fucked up. Like Boonweaver Giant looks at your bin and says, "No, no, 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 no. This has to stay in order. Like you don't get to do anything fancy like that." Library though, that you gotta shuffle.
You don't have to shuffle your hand either. But keep it exactly how
I
you
shuffle
want
my
it.
hand. I love this guy. I don't care that he's 7 mana. I think he's great. He looks cool. His art's awesome. All the things you guys said about his effect, banger. Yeah, I don't have any like more productive addition to this conversation
I
about him, but yeah,
I,
awesome.
I want to say the last two giants we've talked about on this illustrious podcast have in no way in their art seemed giant. This guy's standing next to a door that is bigger than himself. The other guy, Bone Shaman, was just holding a skull, which was presumably also a giant skull because it was the same size as him. No scale birds.
That's true,
They gotta
actually.
throw some scale birds in here, otherwise I can't tell how big these giants are.
I mean, they live it in respectively in a giant monastery and a giant skull field.
Yeah.
Um,
Joe, do you have any more? Do you have any more picks from the skull field for us? What's cooking up next in your haunted mind?
I can spend all day talking about how Giant Monk is a bitchin' creature type combo. I can talk about how I've spent hours trying to brew big auras as a commander deck instead of focusing on your rankers and your other daybreak coronets and little bitty loser auras. But why would we waste time reflecting back on, how shall we call it, a viable archetype in the format, when instead we can look at a card that's captured my mind since I first saw it, and I still don't quite have an explanation why. This is Pale Recluse from Alara Reborn. Pale Recluse
Yeah.
is a 6 mana, 4 generic, a green and a white creature, spider. It's a 4/5 with reach, forest cycling 2, and plains cycling 2. Now, there's a lot to love about Pale Recluse. One, it's a biblically accurate spider, which means, as Richard Garfield intended, it has reach and a big butt. Two, it has cycling. Probably one of the most integral mechanics to modern game design. It functionally determines basically how new set design mechanics are created, after what people say. Just like how Kicker defines additional costs, this defines alternate costs that do different effects. This is your color fixer, especially in a world before the new twisted dark order of surveil lands and triomes and 3 visits that costs under $300. This was good, honest, old-fashioned commander. This was the commander that people used to play after judging tournaments. This is a card that not only has beautiful artwork, a glorious fusion of the worlds of Bant and Esper. It's just eternal. It's classic. I think you could show this card to somebody who's played Magic at any point in their history, and they can stare it down and go, yeah, that's what Magic the Gathering's about. A big golden spider walking up a big fucked up tower made of I don't know, white metal ore bone rock. What what is that? What is that called? What's that thing?
A
Ethereum.
monolith?
Ethereum.
I don't know.
What is Ethereum? Did they
Probably
ever explain what Ethereum
It's
is? I don't know.
metal. Metal that
I have
looks
no
vaguely
clue.
like that.
Uh, this is a great card. I think it's stuck in your head because it's a spider and it's in Selesnya. I think that's why you. Besides it being good design, I think that's why it's stuck in your head, Joe. Two things you love. Um, I think it's a testament to good design that there's a card, not near identical, but very close to this in Duskborn, where it was a 5/6 for 4 and 2 red, with Menace and Mountain Cycling. I think it was Bedhead Beastie. But again, I think this is just neither terrible cards, uh, both good. Yeah, I think this is great. This is a good card.
I want to talk
To be fair
It's
about.
a
to
cool
you,
spider.
to be
To be
fair
fair
to
to
you
you.
though, Ev,
Yeah.
that there was a whole cycle of those in
Yes.
Duskmourn.
Yes.
Additionally, there were some in March of the Machine. This is just a tech they like to use
Yeah.
in multicolored, draft environments and stuff. Duskmourn also had great additional utility in that it put stuff in the graveyard, and that's good for Delirium and the like. I really like Pale Recluse here because something you see a lot rarer is a land cycler for multiple colors, right?
Yes, I
And
agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
specifically two that it laser focuses on, because you see basic land cycling a lot, which is technically a 5-color land cycler. This is a 2-color land cycler, but it can be, depending on how you build your deck, with things like shocks and surveils and triomes. This can also be a 5-color fetch. Probably the worst possible way to get those cards if we're including these $10 to $30 pieces in our commander deck. But it's exactly as you said, like this eternal piece of game design they've returned to multiple times after Shards of Alara, which can't be said of a lot of the experiments taken in that block.
I was gonna say I'm looking at this block and this set rules. It would be terrible to draft in and of itself, but like this card is part of a cycle. They all have
Hmm.
two land cycling abilities and then a keyword, such as Sanctum Plow Beast, which is a artifact creature beast, which is a 3/6 with plane cycling 2 and island cycling 2, and its keyword of choice is Defender. So you, for 6 mana, can pay for a 3/6 with Defender. Pretty good. There's also Hessian Zombies, which is a 6 mana 2/4 in Dimir with Fear and 2 land cyclings. There's a few of those, but this set rules, and its art is
I will.
just terrific. I'm looking at
I am.
Yeah, I'm looking.
I'm looking
I
at
do need to correct
Defiler
the
of
record
Souls.
before we move on too far. Before we
Yeah,
move
yeah,
on
yeah.
too far, I do
Go.
need to correct the record. You are wrong. That's not what the cycle is.
Yeah.
The cycle is not 5 cards
Mhm.
where each has 2 cycling effects and a keyword. It's 4 cards where that's the case, and the
Oh,
rule
yeah.
one's just big. Because that's just what green was back in the day. Cards were just big. Valley ran it. It's just a 6/3. It has no ability.
It's in the Heroes versus Monsters dual deck. Pretty good.
Can I
Yeah.
change my last card to a card I just found from Shards of
I
Alara?
think we
Just because I
could
like the art so much.
we could modify this whole thing into a Shards of Alara, so I'm gonna say no. I am gonna shout out Defiler of Souls
Yeah.
though. Go look at that card. Flying at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a monocolored creature. Its art is killer. Ev, did you have the Shards card you want to shout out before we move on to
Yeah,
your
I
next
was
card?
based like purely on art because I like how bulky this elemental is. I'm looking at Bloodpire Elemental, because I think he's awesome.
Yeah. Do we want
Looks
to
we'll do a Shards of Alara episode another time.
totally?
We'll do a Shards of Alara retrospective. An environment that I don't know if any of us have extensive experience in. Defiler of Souls, I did look at it as a potential include in a Jared Carthalion deck.
Rad.
You can't. It's not worth it. Not worth the price. It doesn't do much of anything. But still,
Do we want to
it does rule as a card.
Do we want to have one more card from each of our hosts here before we call this episode to its finale?
I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
I think we can do that. I got a real stinker for this last one. It's one I briefly put in a deck and took out relatively shortly after. I have Squeaking Pie Grubfellows, which we're going to talk about now. Squeaking Pie Grubfellows is a goblin shaman for 3 and a black, and it reads Kinship. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it shares a creature type with Squeaking Pie Grubfellows, you may reveal it. If you do, each opponent discards a card. Is this good? No. Do I like this called Squeaking Pie Grubfellows? Yeah. Do I like how kind of nasty and gross the goblin is? So much. It was briefly in my gut deck when it was very briefly a shaman deck. It's no longer that. But I own I own a foil copy of it, notably, and so it has a special place in my heart because of that, and because it's just so awful. But the art and has just stuck with me.
Bobby, I notice you're squinting at the card, and Ev, I caught a very specific word you said, that the goblin. There are 2 goblins in this art.
Oh, there's one in the back there, huh?
It's sort of. So I was squinting because it looks very much
There are
like
2, yeah.
one of the goblins is wielding the other one like a puppet. You know, like there's the one face, and then the other goblin's like kind of on the cross there. In the
Yeah, Goblin's been
background.
crucified in this art, notably.
That is Goblin Jesus. That is Boggart Jesus, who did die for Boggart sins.
No, I think he's just hanging out. He's just like he's using his own.
Oh yeah, he's just.
Little weapon.
It's like when you're
as,
at like a.
What are they doing?
Well, hold on. If
I
we're
actually
getting
do have
biblical,
the answer for what they're doing, if you want to know the real lore explanation.
first I want to analyze this through the lens of Christianity. If we're getting
Yeah, the thing that you, a Jew, know very well.
absolutely, let's do it really quick.
Yeah.
In the back there is a snake on this cross that the boggart is on. If we're looking at biblical allusions, this could be the snake from the Garden of Eden, trying to entice boggart Jesus with sin. That didn't happen in the Bible, but I noticed the snake and want to talk about it. Joe, enlighten us with what's happening here.
You are conflating Old and New Testament. So what's actually going on here, you can see with the boggarts. This is tying to a phenomenon we see strongest in Sensation Gorger. The lore of the boggarts of Lorwyn is that they're trying to experience as many different sensations as possible. I think, given the sort of tattered edge around the teeth of the forward goblin, it appears that it's cut its lips off. I think is what it's going for there. You can see like the paling flesh and the tattered edge. Additionally, they appear to have tied a bunch of mud to their head with rope. Similarly, tying into this. And likewise, the guy in the back there, I think he's trying to essentially feel a pole thrust into the back of his spine as sort of the sensation, like the skull he's got banded in front of his nose. I think the idea of this piece is like these 2 boggarts are the grub fellows, if you will, are doing all kinds of strange, uncomfortable, and grotesque things. Like also, if you can see on in the horns, he's got a frog on his head.
He has a frog, and then above it is a little crown, like suspended, like an inch above it.
This art's awesome.
They're putting a bunch of they're forcing themselves to indulge in very strange and unusual sensations.
That is a good stretch. I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right now. I'm like pushing my shoulders back, and it feels good. My shoulders are sore, so it's nice. Anyhow, what do you think of the playability of this card, guys?
Unplayable.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we can
This is
move
my
on.
last pick in a draft. I do have a quick question though.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what the squeaking pie refers to?
Is it the insects next to them?
No.
Okay, then I have no idea.
Squeaking pie is one of
like the groups of goblins, right? It's one of the
it's one of the warrens of goblins. Yep. It's one of the boggart mobs.
Cool.
There's also because it also features on Squeaking Pie Sneak.
Yeah.
This is. I have to do my research about Morningtide.
Yeah, I mean this set it was very cool for flavor and art, and man, this card, ooh, you get a trigger that only goes on your upkeep that probably won't happen, and if it does, Everyone discards one card. That's okay. Yeah.
I
Well,
brought I brought some stinkers today.
I'm glad you
There's
did.
this one.
I
Yeah,
feel,
of course. That's why we're here.
can I share my last card? I think this is a stinker,
Of
but
course.
it has seen play. It has seen reprints, time and time again. It's been in dual decks. It's been, in alliances. Sorry, Fallen Empires rather. This is Breeding Pit. We mentioned thralls before. If you want a really slow way to make some thralls, let me tell you, Breeding Pit is for you. For 4 mana, you get an enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this enchantment unless you pay black black. At the beginning of your end step, create a 0/1 black thrall creature token. And I want to read the flavor text as well. The thralls bred at a terrifying pace. In the end, they overwhelmed the order of the Ibn Hand. The pace is 1/0/1 thrall every turn, and you have to pay 2 mana for it. Oh boy.
I was
The order of
about
the
to
Ebon
say-
Hand.
Sucks. They're bad at this game.
Yeah.
Super fun. I was about to mention I'm glad you brought that up in the flavor text. 'Cause it's the exact thing. They are bad at this. That is not a terrifying. That's so slow. Maybe terrifying how slow it is.
Yeah.
They were overwhelmed by paying 2 black mana for a 0/1.
Uh
How
actually,
many
well, really, 4 for endless 0/1s.
how many
Four in
thralls do you need to make this worth it? Because it's like at if you pay 4 mana, that's it. You get 1 thrall. 6 mana is 2 thralls. 8 mana is 3, etc. Do we need?
You are never mana positive on this. Like, I'm gonna be so honest with you. The effects that let you ritual are not typically repeatable.
Yep.
And even those that sort of semi are, also don't tax you for 2 black mana every turn.
I got this. Ready? This is the ultimate combo. Viewers at home, get ready for the next. This is coming for your commander tables. All right, you play Breeding Pit and Stitcher's Apprentice in the same deck. For 4 mana every round, you get a free 2/2. I'm cooking. I'm cooking with something.
I like how you said for 4 mana you get a free 2/2. But if you pay this cost, you get a free creature. You no.
To be fair, if you do have a Thrall champion in play, so that's 5 more mana, these are 1/2s.
Ooh.
Ooh. Oh wait. Okay. So for that much mana, you can have this same rate as Stitcher's Apprentice, turning
There's
a
a-
1/2 into a 2/2.
There's a Thrall Kindred piece?
There's multiple.
Oh, man.
You didn't know this?
Oh, this is unlocked.
Different episode. Different episode.
Oh, I'm going to go brew this after
You
the
need to
podcast
look up
is over.
Oracle Thrall because there are many cards that synergize, including some pretty bonkers ones.
Oh, no. Well, this is
They're
what I'm
all
doing.
keep in mind, Fallen Empires. Bad cards. I've bought and opened packs of Fallen Empires, which for a set released in the mid-90s should cost me more than the $7 I paid. Also, I was robbed. Did not open anything even vaguely worth the $7. I do want to mention, though, something, because I would also be overwhelmed by the Thralls, to be completely fair, if, the Thralls looked like they did in the original art.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
Yep,
Ugh.
I agree.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'm saying, do we have anything else we want to say about Breeding Pit?
No, I'm done.
All I'm saying is, if the Thralls look like that, I'd also want to be bred in that pit.
Oh, yeah.
Our last piece that we want to cover today that hasn't been predetermined as a council among us, but rather an individual favorite, a little sweet treat that we've each snuck in for each other to savor, is a piece that I think is a lovely insight into set design, and arguably one of the most significant cards to come out of Zendikar Rising, one of the most defining sets of the last several years. One that people really remember strongly and fondly. I'm of course talking about Cleric of Chill Depths. This is a one in a blue merfolk cleric, a creature, obviously. It's a 1/3 with the rules text: whenever Cleric of Chill Depths blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untapped step. The flavor text: before my people turned to false gods, we built a glittering city beneath the northern sea ice. The magic of ancient Benthedrix lives in me. I have a lot to say about this card. First of all, mono blue cleric, pretty rare. Off the top of my head, I can only think of Deceiver Exarch and Airy Worshippers, two cards with equal viability. Additionally, it's the only blue cleric in the set. Zendikar Rising famously had a draft archetype of 4 two-color pairs for its party mechanic, with green acting as a sort of typo glue for the strategy, the fact that it was allowed to feature cards of every individual creature type that comprised the party mechanic: cleric, wizard, rogue, and warrior. It means that typically you didn't see creature types outside of their assigned color identity. In the case of cleric, that was black-white, to play on earlier cleric typal effects from things such as onslaught block, one of my favorite blocks in the game. The fact that we got this individual mono blue cleric, and we got other cards similar to it, but in this case, this is, I think, the most evocative, means that we get to take a sneak peek into cultures on Zendikar that we've kind of seen constrained to one role, right? When we think of core, we think of scouts, we think of artificers, we think of soldiers. When we think of, for example, another Zendikari race would be... Man, Zendikar is not a defining plane. Goblins.
Minotaurs.
Goblins occupy themes of, like, shamans and warriors and scouts additionally as well. And merfolk have similarly been restricted. Granted, everything's been an ally. But merfolk, they're usually quite shackled to wizard, with the occasional soldier across the plains. Merfolk clerics are very, very rare. And to have a clerical theme tied to ice magic, to have some sort of frost faith, I think is really, really cool. And I think you can see a lot of really fascinating designs in the motifs of this cleric's armor. And as somebody who mains clerics and things like Dungeons and Dragons, and even in other tabletop role-playing games and role-playing enterprises across the internet, because I think they just have a really compelling intrinsic narrative, this lending a diversity to both the color identity and narrative potential of faith in magic is just really cool, especially seeing faith on Zendikar not centered around the Eldrazi.
Yeah, the flavor text does mention the Eldrazi, but it's just specifically say like, hey, the merfolk that worshipped them were mad. Like, mentions the ancient Benthedrix, which is neat, especially in a set that was kind of mocked for not mentioning the aftermath of the Eldrazi destroying literally everything. It seems like more people should be talking about that, and this is, at least we get to see a little bit of that in this common. Even if we don't see it in the art or the mechanics of the story, we see it through the little bits of flavor text. So shout out to whoever wrote the flavor text of Cleric of Chill Depths, turning this from a generic piece of tap down pseudo removal in limited to something that actually builds this world.
Also, art is pretty banging on this card.
Right, yeah.
Olivia Prima is the artist. Looks fantastic. I think this merfolk looks cool as hell. Armor looks great. I think it matches the card super well, which it does for a lot of things in Magic. But I wanted to shout that out for this one specifically because I liked the character design, the posing, and all that good stuff on there.
It is very much it is very much a Spider-Man like effect. um, on
Don't
this
call it
card.
that.
Um, I
Don't.
think we have
Don't
to.
remind me of a Zorius spider, man.
Yeah, yep. That's what he is.
I can't believe he's Azorius. Sorry. No, different
Future
episode.
episode topic.
Different episode.
I do like the eternal tie between blue, ice, and how that ludonarratively manifests as tap down effects. We saw in Hilda in
Yeah.
Wilds of Eldraine as this finally brought to the fore is like this is a thing you can build around in formats like Commander where there needs to be a linchpin piece to direct the whole deck. But Frost Links, a core set icon in its own right. Sort of carrying this tradition forward in other similar limited style cards, I think is just cool. I do like that there's sort of like linking glue, especially when you consider it like cross different game systems. Because, for example, another very famous, very popular card game, Hearthstone, does something very, very similar with its wizard class in the mage hero who also has frost effects and freezing effects here. There are just certain game mechanics that are eternal across not only card games but games in general, and I think Cleric of Chill Depths is just a neat way of showing, hey, this is something that just bonds our ideas of frost and ice and sleet together.
I agree. We got anything else about Cleric of Chill Depths, or are we gonna move on to our final communal card for the day, evening, morning, night, afternoon, lunchtime,
Whenever you're watching this,
whenever you're watching this? Yeah.
We know. Yeah, I'm good. I think I don't know. Zendikar Rising might be one of those sets that we look back on in 5 years and be like, "Wow, I remember the good times." But I don't know. I know it got a lot of
don't say
flack.
that. Do not speak that evil to think the amount of dread you've instilled in me with the joke. We'll look back on Zendikar Rising as the good times. May have just robbed a year of my life.
Yeah, well, get ready for it.
I saw a streak of gray appear in Joe's hair as you said that. Like crow's feet just got like a little longer, a little bigger,
Remember playing that Rogues
touch
deck?
deeper.
It was fun. That was the only time I ever was on Standard. I was playing Rogues in Standard. It was great. You got like the 2-mana guy that buffs all your rogues when your opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. It's rad. It's rad.
Awesome.
What is that? Nightblade? I don't know. Okay, I can't lock in right now. We can't spend all our time on
Zendikar Rising.
Zendikar Rising. Not when we have perhaps the greatest piece of cardboard to ever been manifest by Wizards of the Coast and their diabolical overlords at the Hasbro Corporation. Who would like to introduce? Let's take this section by section. On my screen, we're arranged top to bottom just to break through the movie magic and let you guys know that unfortunately we couldn't all be present for this recording in person. I think we should take parts of this card individually. On my screen, we have Bobby at top, Ev in the middle, me at the bottom. Why don't Bobby, you take the type line and the name and cost. Ev, you can take the type line and stats, and I'll take the flavor text.
Sounds good.
Except, okay.
This is
So here's why this doesn't work. That I have no fucking what card we're talking about. Is this the card that was shared earlier, or is this
No,
the more obvious pick?
Bobby.
we're talking
It's
about
our-
Bogstomper.
We're talking about
It's our
Bog
namesake.
Stomper. We're talking about Bogstomper. I don't
it's our
even
namesake.
I don't even need it pulled up. Ready? You want me to do the Oh, you want me to do the creature type too? Okay, I think I got this.
No, I'm
No,
doing,
no,
Oh no, okay.
No, I'm doing
off
creature
the hook.
type.
You're just doing.
Great.
y-
All right.
You're doing name. Okay.
We got this. Ready, guys? We're a professional podcast.
Yeah.
A Bogstomper, of course.
Wait, we're leaving that all in?
Of course. They need to see that I fuck up a lot of the time.
We're real people here at
It's-
Bogstompers.
Way funnier to know that I was just not in the loop because that checks out. I'm only editing
Alright.
this. I don't have to know what's going into it beforehand. So we got
Hit it, Bob.
Bogstompers. A Bogstomper. It's singular. Got it perfect. It costs 4 and a black and a black. And now Evan has to fill in the next part, which I also
It
know.
is a creature beast. It's a 6/5. Tell us what it does, Joe.
Is it
It's
not a snake?
It's not a snake.
This is fucked up.
Bafflingly,
I don't know
It-
this
it
set at
is
all.
just a beast. It was released in M20, and its rules text reads: "They are gentle herbivores, despite their size. Approach cautiously, and hum a tune to let them know you mean them no harm." Vivian
Hey,
Reed.
Joe.
Yeah.
I believe it was it not printed in M19?
No. Oh, am I looking at a They reprinted Bogstomper?
Yeah, they
They
reprinted
decided
it.
this card needed to be printed multiple times.
It's on the list too.
It's on the list.
We know fuck all about our namesake card.
Why did we choose Bogstompers?
He's so cute. Look at
He's
him.
awesome.
Such a good guy.
He's awesome.
The reason why we've been so unprofessional for the last 5 minutes of this podcast is we don't give a flying fuck about anything we just said. Look at this. Obviously, audio-only listeners, you need to go to a new tab right now. I don't care if you're on a work site. I don't care if you have a child in your arms. Drop the kid. Open up your phone. Look up Bogstomper and stare at the art piece.
Jason
This is-
Felix. Ooh, did a good job.
Jason Felix, I could kiss you on the lips. This is a beautiful creature.
I just added 20 copies of it to my cart in Card Kingdom.
Not a sponsor. Yet.
Not a
No
sponsor
sponsor.
of the show. We just like their service.
Cards.
We like their
Is that all
cards.
we have?
We like their kingdom.
Is that all we have for the evening, folks?
I mean, we
Are
talked
done
about
here?
how to break the other cards. How do you break Bogstomper?
Slinza
Yeah,
is
you're
the
right.
answer. Newfound card in Jumpstart 2025. Technically Jumpstart Foundations, but the set code is very clearly saying Jumpstart 2025. Is a Beast Kindred commander. It's also in red and green, so obviously you would need some kind of Jund commander to feature both these cards in the deck. And additionally, considering it's a 6/5, you could run ferocious effects from Tarkir also in this color identity to sort of play off it. Additionally, notably also, green, especially with our recent visit to Muruganda, got a ton of vanilla support, meaning that you can also feature those in this theoretical Jund deck. Now, obviously, we do have black, which is kind of an underplayed part of this color identity, so we will also be running Demonic Tutor to fetch Bogstomper.
I was gonna say, there's the new vanilla tutor. You could just tutor for Bogstomper with whatever the card is that tutors for a vanilla creature from
True.
Aether Drift.
But redundancy is important, so we're running
This is true.
Fang Druid Summoner and Demonic Tutor, both to fetch
Yes.
Bogstomper.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can tooth and nail for this bad boy. You can break format rules and tutor for 2 Bogstompers.
Just
Or
cheat.
break format rules and tutor for 3.
That's what we're doing. You don't need it. I mean, you need 3, no
Only-
4.
only 3.
You don't need 4.
You only need only 3. Only 3.
If you ran 4 copies of Bogstomper in your deck, I'm calling a judge, not because you broke the rules, but because you're featuring so many powerful cards that I have no way of winning, and I think that they should stare at you and accost you with a wag of the finger.
When do we think this card gets pointed? Next
I don't
Canlander
know.
update?
Probably. Can we
Is this a game changer?
It's-
Did they make it a game changer yet?
It is a game
They
changer
will.
actually.
It is a game changer? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you cast this off of Bolas's Citadel, you will not see the light of heaven.
Yeah. Because you'll have 6 less life.
Okay,
Right, we're done here.
We could
We're
spend
done.
the rest of the day talking about Bogstomper until the wee hours of the morning, but unfortunately, because you haven't supported us
Ooh.
as financially as you can, there's a deep sort of longing tragedy that the rest of us here, we have day jobs. You, hapless viewer, you might just be at home in your underwear, Cheeto stains down the front of your body, listening to your absolute favorite new Magic the Gathering podcast. But we got overhead on these lights, cameras, and action that we need to cover. with a beautiful rest and a hard-working day at our lovely profession, which means we do need to sign off. Next time, we'll come back
Before
with a
we
new...
do that,
Before we do that,
we have two people to thank really quick for things featured in this episode, both visual and audio. First, we'd like to thank our good friend Alicia for composing our theme song, which you will hear momentarily as we sign off here, and Jay Halley, who created both our icon and cover art for us, who you can find at the Howley on various social media platforms.
Check them out. They're really cool.
there is a lot of obvious sarcasm and snide comments in the podcasting industry. People want to be likable and approachable on the internet. But genuinely, a warm and sincere thanks both to the lovely artisans who we have commissioned for this project and have helped us out through every step of the way, and especially, additionally, thank you to anybody who felt it appropriate to give us any support that they are capable of providing. It's an easy industry to get jaded in, and despite our roguish charm, deep, sincere compassion does flow freely from all of us. And we're so glad that you decided to stop on by in the bog, listening to your favorite mono black draft chaff theme podcast, Bogstompers. Take us away!
Bogstompers, a Magic the Gathering podcast, features art by Jay Howley. You can find him at The Howley on Instagram. Our theme song is written by Alicia Chapman. Bobby Fasciano edits these and gets them online. Hey, that's me. None of this would be possible without viewers like you, so thank you, and see you in the bog again very soon. Peace.